Hey guys, welcome back. Boston Motorsport invited me back out to drive this 2020 Ghibli S GranSport. And what's most exciting about this car is not about the options that it does have, but the option that it doesn't. This is not a Q4. This is rear-wheel drive. So we've got a twin-turbo V6 with 424 horsepower, 428 pound-feet of torque, and it sounds pretty good. Let's go take this out for a drive. Pretty modest in normal mode. Toss that into sport. A little bit of bite to that, huh? Let's let this warm up and we'll take a walk around. This one is Grigio matte. We've got soft closed doors. Grigio matte, for those who aren't in the know with Italian, matte gray. Pretty straightforward. Honestly, I had to ask, is this a wrap when I came in here? Because this isn't a color you usually see on cars. The Ghibli, it's getting a little long in the tooth, and I'll be the first to say that Maserati is not my first choice. Unless it's some 1960s Playboy racer, then I'm not the most excited, but I actually, after driving some of the newer Alphas, I'm starting to understand why these cars sell as well as they do, and it's because we're all complaining about BMW or Mercedes becoming soft, becoming numb, becoming too electronic, but these aren't. These are kind of like the evolution of the BMWs that you liked. So, for example, that Giulia reminds me of an E46 if the E46 carried into 2020. Whereas this, what I'm hoping to find out, and you'll learn along the way with me in real time, is if this is the natural evolution of the E39. But from what I expect out of this, definitely loads of torque, an enjoyable driving experience, not going to be a numbers car. That's the thing. If you're just searching by the numbers, it's really hard for the Maserati to win. If you'll notice, single pane glass in the rear, soft close, laminated double pane up front, so you'll get more sound deadening from the driver's seat. And they're pretty subtle. There's nothing back here that's going to tell you that this is a little bit of a monster, that it's got over 400 horsepower. It's just an S quad tip and real exhaust. We're actually looking at exhaust tips coming through a muffler instead of the fake crap that we see all over the place with the Germans. Let's hope that ends. But now that we're a little bit warmed up, let's go take it for a drive, and we'll go through Boston. What I like about this drive route isn't necessarily that it's a big, fun, twisty, incredible road, but I get tunnels, and a car like this in the tunnel is exactly how I want to experience it. There is a little spot for your phone in here, which is kind of odd. I don't know that that's what it's meant for, but it works. And I'll be the first to admit, I'm not a big fan of the way Alfa and Maserati does these electronic shift levers, but they do the job. And you know what? I've got column-mounted paddles, so I'm not going to complain too much. We're going to leave this in sport because we need to listen to this engine. 8-speed automatic torque converter ZF gearbox should be just the trick. Pulls pretty hard. Like I said, this is not going to be the numbers car that's going to knock your socks off, but it's plenty, and ooh, this is cushy. We're on Boston roads, which by all accounts, not good roads to go like enjoy sporty cars, but I'll tell you, it's the best way to review a luxury sedan because this is going to be someone's daily driver. This has the Skyhook active suspension, and another thing that I really love about Maserati Alfa, these cars, they are simple. There's not a million menus I need to go through. I have sport mode, I have regular mode, I have my suspension setting. It's just all right here. I don't have to go hunting for things. I can just hit it without thinking. I know it's not the most descriptive thing in the world, but cars stopped feeling like cars, and this feels like a car. Wow. Not a sluggish transmission. This gets up and goes. And that really goes to show you what a couple of turbos will do, because let's say that Maserati Gran Turismo with the Ferrari naturally aspirated V8, it does not have this kind of torque. Holy cow, this will get you out of the hole. But back to how it feels, like I'm not questioning my inputs. It's just I'm in, it's intuitive, I can drive it, no questions asked. Ooh, these brakes are really nice. Probably still need to be bedded in a little bit, but yikes. I am not concerned about stopping this beast. Little bit of lag from this V6. I mean, that's just if you're leaning on it. If you really want to go, just mat it because it's going to downshift for you, but you've got to take it into account. You're never going to have the throttle response in a turbo V6 that you would in like a naturally aspirated individual throttle body V8. But that's why this ZF 8-speed has become so ubiquitous, because it's allowed automakers to comply, make fast, torquey cars with turbos, and still be drivable. A little throttle goes a long way. All right, let's just go in normal mode for a second before we get out to the highway, because the reality is most of you who buy this car are just commuting. You're just going from point A to point B. You're trying to do it with a little bit of speed. You're trying to do it in style. And I've got great visibility because they didn't go cheapo on little dinky mirrors. There's actually visibility out of this car. That's nice. All right, tunnels, back to sport mode. I wonder if we can't put this up a little bit. I hope that M3 doesn't think I'm trying to play, because I really don't care about him. Oh, now he does. It's not even an M3. It's a 335 with M3 mirrors. One of my favorite things about cars like this is that they still have buttons for things that you want to have buttons for. I can't tell you how frustrating it is when you get into like a new BMW or Mercedes and all you want to do is change the way the HVAC system is operating. I want it colder, I want more fan, I want this, I want that. And you can't do it because you have to like friggin' program a computer to do it. But in this, boom, right there, I want colder. Yes, done. Okay, like very simple stuff. I'm getting old. I think I'm getting old, and I'll accept that. I'm going to own that. That's okay. But it is very frustrating when you just want simple tasks to occur in your vehicle that you were used to using a knob for. Is that so much to ask? That's quite a rumble. Yeah. Turn off sport mode, no rumble. We're back in the rumble mode. We've got an LSD in the rear as well, which is nice. Not that it would be anywhere else. It's rear wheel drive. And because you've got all this torque, like on video, it probably doesn't sound that crazy because I don't need to rev it out. You don't need to rev it out. You've got this juicy, juicy mid-range, and that's not theatrical for... All right, we're gonna make a little right-hand pass. Look at that. Wonderful. It's not theatrical for camera, because for camera, the best thing in the world is an 8,000-9,000 RPM redline where you just wind it out and it pulls and pulls and pulls. But the reality is, in a day-to-day driver, that's not that enjoyable. It's actually kind of frustrating, because what you really want is a nice, juicy low and mid-range that you can lean on when you're in traffic. When you've got these high revving engines, what they don't do very well is they don't drive in traffic. You've got to give it 3 downshifts before you get anywhere. Whereas in this, nice, juicy mid-range. Nope, that's an exit only. Classic Boston. Not the snappiest downshifts. That's okay though. The point of this car is to be a sporty daily driver. It's not here to beat anyone's lap times. And I think that's where Maserati kind of doesn't miss the plot, and that's where BMW, Mercedes, Audi kind of does. They're always chasing these numbers and they look good. Maybe the cars are too stiff. Maybe they just don't operate the way you want them to as an actual daily because of that. Of course, you know what? You can have it. I'm going to give it to you because I'm not in a BMW. I'm in a Maserati, which means I'm a gentleman. Nice little pops on the upshift, just a little crack to let you know it's there. The upshifts are really snappy. I could commute in this, no questions asked. And it's designed for speed. We're doing 70, 8th gear. It's at like 1,500 RPM. Oh my God. Yeah, it really is geared for 190, that's for sure. I'm sure there's a speed limiter on it, but you know what? There's always a guy who can tune that out for you. Holy cow, this thing really pulls. This is no joke. I'm slowly but surely understanding why people buy Ghiblis. I'll be honest, I'm the first one who would be like, yeah, I'm not excited by it. It's a Ghibli. But this thing's a bit of a sleeper because all it says on the back is S, and it screams. The tire sizes definitely let you know they know it's rear-wheel drive. You've got a 245 up front and a 285 in the rear. Now, just for comparison, my E39 M5 has a 275 in the back. And yeah, so they are expecting that you are going to give it the beans mid-corner. And it handles corners and bumps. That's what I like. You've got to have a compliant enough suspension that it can bounce over something mid-corner without upsetting you, because otherwise, like, what are you even doing? And we don't want to meet any police officers up here. We'll consider that sufficient foreshadowing and forewarning. My goodness. You know, Maserati came back swinging when I was in high school. They had the GT, the old Gran Turismo, and then they came out with the Quattroporte, which really, I think, solidified their place in the market. But the car was like pretty extreme. That's what was cool about it. You had a single clutch gearbox with a Ferrari V8. Like, how ridiculous is that to have a 7 Series fighter in that package with that kind of performance? Since then the Ghibli came out, which to me always just felt like, you know, you're trying to get into the mid-range, you're trying to sell to the average person, and I was always hoping it wasn't just going to dull down. But it turns out they've got the chops, because this is pretty enjoyable. The seating position in this is wonderful. I am nice and low in the cabin. I've got the steering wheel in kind of like a nice directly in front of me racing position. I've got my column mounted paddle shifters. Like, you know, Audi is still using these teeny little plastic paddles on the back of their steering wheels, and they even use it on the R8, which is just bananas. The fact that you're getting these on a Ghibli and Audi's still giving you plastic on an R8 is pretty outrageous. So not that I want to stereotype the buyers of this, but I feel like most Maserati owners are looking for a little bit more style. They're looking for something that says, I'm not just the boring German business suit that is the BMW, the Audi, the Mercedes. But on top of that, I think there's a case to be made that these are actually kind of driver's cars. These are enjoyable to drive. They hark back to when cars were a little more entertaining, a little more tactile, and everything's just gotten so numb and electronic now. It really is loud in sport mode. There's no question that you're in sport mode when you're idling. It's so instant. So look, I'm not a fanboy of any brand. I'm not a loyalist. I'm not, even though I know I own a couple BMWs and I do tend to like Porsches, but I'm not saving my pennies to go buy the new XYZ. Granted, I don't have enough pennies to do that. However, what I do like to do is I like to give all cars a chance. I like to make sure that I don't prejudge them. And I'll be honest, I prejudge this. Now, we haven't taken out to a circuit. We're not out doing some crazy racy thing. But I just did the drive that you would probably do in your Ghibli. You're going to work. You're going into the city. You've got some highway entrances. You've got some fun corners. You've got some tunnels to listen to the exhaust. That's the overall experience of what most drivers are going to do with their cars. And I'm not going to lie, this is like quite an enjoyable thing. And I am surprised. And I think it's important that we make sure that we judge cars based on their driving experience and not just on the fact that they make the numbers that we want to see. Because this isn't going to do that. You're probably going to be left in the dust behind the latest and greatest from Germany. I think the driving experience is here. This is fun. So thank you to Boston Motorsport for letting me come out and play around with this Ghibli. I need a demo. I need like a press tester that I can just beat on, because I want to be a little nice to this when it's inventory. You don't want to go out and just stand on it. So if you guys have a demo of this, this is great. But I mean, I highly recommend, if you're going to buy like these sort of enthusiast cars, you've got to go with the rear wheel drive ones. You know, we're all save the manuals and all this fun stuff, but you know, don't forget that we still want rear-wheel drive sports sedans. And to keep those alive, you've got to buy them. So thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive. Thank you also to my Patreon supporters. You guys really make this content possible, whether it's $1 a month, $15 a month. It all means the world in keeping this thing alive. So if you're looking into this kind of sports sedan segment, don't overlook the Ghibli. I know it's been around since 2014, but just listen to this. That's cool. It's cool, man. So that's it. See ya.